All right, let's welcome back to Straight Fire one of the better NBA reporters out there, ESPN NBA reporter Dave McMenamin, currently covering the snoozer OKC Minnesota series. I'm sure he wishes the Lakers were in the Western Conference Finals. Dave, what's up, man?
Yeah, I feel like we did miss out a little bit on the Steph LeBron late stage second round matchup that would have led to a conference finals berth and possibly for the Lakers. But I do find this Wolves team pretty compelling. I've covered them the last two postseasons after the Lakers were knocked out. And I hope they meet the challenge and give us a memorable series and not anything like what we saw in the second half of game one.
Yeah, listen, we'll obviously get to the Lakers, but let's start with the second half. I don't know, to boil it down into an easy package here. It felt like Minnesota hit threes in the first half, specifically Julius Randle, and then they just kept shooting threes and didn't adjust at all. And I think it was your reporting that they shot like 51 threes, which was a record in the conference finals. And of course, they went cold, and OKC kind of hammered them.
Yeah, a franchise record for actually threes in a playoff game. 15 for 51 they end up with. They
Yeah.
shot lower than 30% on wide open looks, which is not going to get it done. And, some of it was, I think, the OKC defense certainly crowding them, and they're known for being a really good perimeter defensive team. I think the open looks, they're not truly open if all the sudden you find yourself like a pressure release valve and it's like pressure, 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 no pressure. That just doesn't feel open. So
Hmm.
I think you got to give some credit to OKC there. And I think you saw guys like Nikhil Alexander Walker, Dante DiVincenzo. The moment seemed a little big for them. It doesn't mean that they can't absorb that moment and better prepare themselves to perform as the series goes on. I just didn't think those guys were ready to step up in the way the team needed them in game one.
Yeah. I mean, Nas Reed could not throw it in the ocean. Here's what I'm struggling with rectifying. How does Dante DiVincenzo come off the bench and take more shots than Anthony Edwards? You've covered a lot of LeBron. You know how he would kind of feel out a game, feel out a series, get everyone else involved. Is that what was happening last night with Edwards?
A little bit. I mean, certainly he turned his ankle, and so he missed half the second quarter with that, and that affected things. He said, I asked him straight up, did it affect your shooting? He didn't admit to it. He said no, but I think he is a human. Some of it was certainly the defense that he saw. He said whenever he turned the corner, he saw four or five guys packing the paint. He only took, of his 13 shot attempts, only one of them was in the
I
paint.
saw that.
And he says his approach will be to get off the ball. I think probably he looks at those 3-point numbers and says, well, if we're going to be shooting from the outside and we're not going to get anything inside, why not have Mike Conley probe a little bit and toss it back out to me? I hit
Mm.
more threes than anybody else in the NBA this season. I'd rather go down shooting 15 threes if that's going to be the case. I asked Chris Finch about Ant whether he was just being emotional and saying that would be his tactic moving forward. And Finch said, no, actually, I think that there could be some benefits to us having him play off the ball and move around a little bit more and catch the ball on the move.
Hmm. So, but you trust Conley as a playmaker at this age, or can Randall, who I mean is now a triple double guy, I guess, can he unlock some more playmaking like he did against the Lakers and
Yeah,
Warriors?
yeah. I mean, Conley. I think that's my point. Being if there's no real probing to be had because they're packing the paint, you can certainly, try to probe a little bit and just kick out. I think Randall proved himself to be a really good playmaker in both the last two rounds, and they needed him to score last night, and he was really the only guy doing it. He ended up 9 for 13, 20 points in the first half, 8 in the second half. Uh, I don't think they even had sniffed that game for the first 2.5 quarters, unless Randall was the scorer. But certainly that's an adjustment they can make. Randall's capable of reading that team and finding the open guys where they like it.
How about the zone? We know Denver had a lot of success with the zone. Minnesota did against them in the regular season. I didn't recall much, if any, zone in game one. Do you expect a lot more in game two?
I didn't see a lot of it. Finch was asked about it earlier in the playoffs, and he says you're probably maxing out at about 15 possessions of zone a game before the team either regresses to the mean or excuse me, progresses to the mean, I should say, where their shots start to fall, or they're just anticipating it and they have counters built in. So
Yeah.
I do think you'll see that. I think it's part of their defensive diet. And maybe that's, you don't want to throw everything out there in game one
Yeah.
when you're already looking at like a loss. They had that 17-2 run from like the 6 minute mark of the third till
Mm.
the 1 minute mark, and the thing felt like it was over. And so at that point, I don't think you want to be going too deep in the playbook to try to
Yeah.
use stuff that can help you as the series goes on.
Definitely. We're recording this right after Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was announced as the MVP. Not a huge surprise. A, do you have a vote? B, did you vote for him? And C, what do you think of the nickname free throw merchant?
A, yes. B, yes.
Oh,
C,
wow.
somewhat accurate. But
Ooh, okay.
however, I mean, he should be celebrated as a great player.
Yes.
Uh, three straight seasons, 30 plus points per game. He's only 26 years old. 68 wins. Only 7 teams in NBA regular season history have won that many. So those are two huge parts of his resume. Top five in steals, a culture setter for that organization. All those reasons are why I voted for him. Now, when I watched game one last night and he has 7 free throw attempts in the first 5 minutes of the game,
Woo.
do I feel like this is a brand of basketball that I love and respect? Not
Mm,
necessarily. When
mm.
he draws 13 fouls in the game, the most he's ever drawn in a playoff game in his career, again, don't love it, especially when we think that basically since the middle of the 23-24 season, when anecdotally the league wasn't happy the way the fans were unhappy with the bloated scoring numbers, and they kind of told refs, start swallowing the whistle a little
Yeah.
bit. It seemingly that only becomes more of the marching orders in the playoffs. So most of the guys are out there not getting calls and playing through it. And it's actually pretty compelling. It sticks out even more when someone like Shea continues to get the
Mhm.
calls that he gets. So, listen, I think it is crafty. I don't think it's cheating or anything like
Yeah.
that. I
No,
think
no.
it's a form of being competitive, to find every advantage you can. I just don't think it's as aesthetically appealing.
Right.
He's a better player than just to be known for that.
Right. Like you play a lot of pickup ball. I haven't been invited to one of your games, but whatever.
I'm on the road. We
How
played today.
how annoying or how annoyed are you when some guy drives and just calls a foul every time? That's what
Yeah,
it kind of feels like,
it's,
Dave.
it, it's the worst. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's terrible. So one other thing, you said SGA was like I think top five in steals. Didn't Curry lead the league in steals one year? I'm pretty sure Steph Curry did.
Yeah, he may have, may have.
Like again, I know SGA is he's such a great two-way player. I mean, listen, he's got Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren protecting the like he's got
Oh,
really
right,
good
sure,
defenders
sure.
around
I mean,
him.
Allen Iverson led the league in steals. It's not like
Yeah,
he was considered a great two-way player. Sure, but
I
I'm just
totally
saying
agree.
it is there. It's not like he's a sieve on that. Is my
No,
point.
no, no,
Like, yeah,
definitely not.
yeah,
He's
right.
not like Luca in the playoffs.
Yeah,
This year, he wasn't
that's
that
right.
bad last year.
That's
We'll
right.
get to the Lakers. One more. I don't know why, but Dave, and again, I'm not singling out anybody, but it feels like a lot of the stat guys absolutely love this OKC team. Oh, they're historically great. Look at the point differential. This is one of the great defenses ever. And I just watching them, I don't feel like this is an all-time great team or even close. I picked the Wolves to win this series. I'll stand by it. Am I missing something, or maybe it's just I'm clouded by picking against OKC all season and thinking they're overrated? I don't see like an all-time great team or even anything close to it. Do you?
I had a NBA player tell me this year, and I won't say his name. He didn't
Okay.
explicitly say it was off the record, but
Oh,
I wasn't recording, so it
all
wasn't
right.
clear that it was on the record. But he said OKC is the best college team in the NBA. And his point for saying that was basically outside of Shea, and he certainly was not trying to throw shade at Shea. He just didn't think their talent is all that great. He thinks they're a bunch of really good role players. But in the playoffs, traditionally, we're used to seeing a team get put in a situation where the shot clock gets ground down to 4 or 5, and then you need somebody to go make a play for you. And I don't think, and the reason I agree with this player in some sense is Jalen Williams isn't quite there yet. Chet Holmgren isn't quite there yet. Certainly I think Isaiah Hartenstein is a perfect role player in what he plays. Caruso, perfect role player in what he plays. But in terms of the star beyond Shea, I don't know if you say that they have it the way that say Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards are for this Wolves team
Mm.
right now.
Yeah, it's weird. This whole J Dub being a number two, I don't see that at all. Somebody tried to tell me he could be an all NBA guy this season. Dave, tell me you didn't vote for him all NBA.
I Now, I haven't voted. It was about 6 weeks ago, so I don't want to misquote myself. I do not believe I did,
I mean, come on, dude.
but
There's zero chance
I don't
he's
want to
one of the
misquote myself. Yeah,
six best forwards or 15 best players in the. There's just no way.
yeah. I mean, listen, he's a
He's
nice
good.
player, and
He's good.
certainly give credit to the OKC front office
Yes,
as
100%.
someone that they brought into the program. But yeah, I don't. He's not elevated to star status. And generally, when you start talking about a team that is going to be the darling for everyone,
Mhm.
I think part of the reason why that player shared that to me too is that they play hard every night.
Yeah,
And veteran teams who are pacing themselves for something bigger don't necessarily always do that
they
in the
do.
regular
Yeah.
season. And some of that is a problem for the NBA product. It's not something you should necessarily brag
Mm.
about. I think I would love to be a fan and watch a team where I feel like every single night they are giving their all. Like that
That's not
is,
realistic,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not unless you have a group where everyone's 25 years or younger, though.
So I'm looking at the contracts. Maybe it's not updated, but according to Hoops Hype, Jalen Williams is making $4.7 million this year. Is that right?
Yeah, it's still
Dude,
rookie scale.
Hartenstein's making 30. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So here's my guess is they will be looking to move off Jalen Williams in some kind of deal this offseason because he's not a number two. If he's a three, that's fine. But like I would rather have Austin Reeves as a three than Jalen Williams. And I know people are going to call you a Lakers homer, but I know you'd agree with me.
I think Austin Reeves is a wonderful player. I don't know if I'm gonna go, apples to apples with Jalen Williams. And Jalen Williams certainly has more size. Jalen Williams, I believe, is a hair younger.
Yeah, it's not,
Austin's certainly more skilled on ball, but he has times where he gets picked on defensively. So
well,
I don't know. I mean, listen,
I,
I think they won't be in a rush to move off of Jalen Williams, though. Even if like this thing blows up and he is clearly not the number two that they thought he would be, because he is still young and he is on a cost control contract.
mhm.
Like, what are you going to, how are you going to replace him with a guy making that type of money
Well,
that with that much production? Like,
just so happens they got Kason Wallace on the bench, who's
oh,
pretty damn good.
I think the guy
Wiggins,
that they could
yeah.
move on from, with a guy like Lou Dort, I think that his number they'd be more likely to move there. And
Mm,
certainly every team is looking for a 3-and-D guy around the league, and he could have more value.
yeah. Let's use that to pivot to the Lakers. We did several postmortems on them. I think I'm in the minority. I don't think they're that far away, Dave, from going to the finals. Again, you had Luka for half a season coming off missing like 30 games due to injury. No center really on the roster. Like, oh, this is a team that finished third in the West. Like, I just don't understand the overreactions. It's probably just the dislike of LeBron, But I am curious. In your post mortem, do you feel the Lakers are close in the West, like a player away? I know this is too many questions, but I think they match up great. If they were facing OKC, I think they would win the series. They're a good matchup for OKC, as we saw as evidenced by their like 70-point win in OKC.
Yeah, well, they couldn't miss that game, so I think that we have to take that into account. Like sometimes that just
Right.
happens, and any team that hits 24 threes is going to look like
But
one
even
of the
the
best
game
teams in the
after
league.
that, which I think was a
Yeah,
back to back or something,
it
they
was.
should have
Yeah,
won that game before the bullshit ejection. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was a bad ejection. I'll give you that. Let's start with the first question. Are they a player away? If that player is a vertical lob threat center that can be durable and be smart enough to not have LeBron and Luca tune him out because he messes stuff out. Because that was basically the problem of Jackson Hayes. Jackson
Okay, just
Hayes
making sure. Yeah, yeah.
is a lob threat, good athlete, good guy, but too
We don't know
often
about
he,
that part, but
well,
anyways, continue.
good locker room guy.
Okay,
Let me
fair
say
enough.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me put the caveat, and that's a fair challenge you presented back. Good locker room guy. But whether it was foul trouble or whether it was just not being on the same page in terms of what they're trying to run, quickly was lacking trust from the coaching staff and from the stars
Mhm.
when it mattered in the playoffs. And so they didn't play him. Now, that is still, you don't point the finger at Jackson Hayes, you point the finger at the front office and say, why didn't you get this team a center they could rely on? Then the front office says, okay, we tried. Mark Williams failed the physical. Okay, fine. But it can't be hollow words this offseason. Like it is fully on the front office to
Mhm.
now back their bet by trading for Luka Doncic to give him a chance to win his first championship and win LeBron's fifth. You got to have a complete roster, or you're just trying to use the hype to sell tickets. And so that is the top priority. I think it will come down to matchups, obviously, but I still believe that there is no world beater in the league right now, and
Mhm.
especially with Tatum going down and going to miss a year. I think Boston was the best team by a pretty wide degree when they were right. But they're not going to be right, and they're never going to look the same again. And
No.
so the Lakers should feel emboldened to, use. They have an expiring contract for Gabe Vincent. They have Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt at good numbers that you can attach a first round pick to, or attach a Dalton Connect and get some nibbles around the league there. There are things they can do.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think there is a big Austin Reeves question, but Austin Reeves, in my opinion, will only be moved if someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo says, "I want to play in LA and LA only," and then the Lakers, of course, got to figure something out, and then they need pieces in order to make that happen.
Interesting. So you don't think they would consider moving Reeves for Kevin Durant? Not that Durant's even interested in the Lakers, and I doubt he'd want to play with LeBron. But essentially, it's like, yeah, if Giannis wants to come to the Lakers, sure, we'll trade Austin Reeves. Otherwise, he's not going anywhere.
I would say based on the players that we know are
Hmm.
potentially going to be on the market, I am still very curious to see what Jaylen Brown does. Does he want to be a part of what seems to be kind of a rebuild on the fly in Boston, or will he say, you know what, I don't know if this is something that's for me. And then if Jaylen Brown becomes a name that's available, well, then I think,
Whoa.
yeah, that's
That
something
is
that would be
spicy. I don't think
considered.
I've heard that at all. Let me call up his contract here, but I don't think Brown can just walk. You think Boston
No,
would have
no,
to
no,
trade
no.
him?
Yeah, trade him, right? But if they're already trying to avoid this $500 million
Mm-hmm.
luxury tax bill for next season, and Kristaps Porzingis is an expiring, widely considered they're going to be moving him.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Holiday has a couple years left on his deal. So then Jaylen Brown says, "Okay, you just got rid of Porzingis, you got rid of Drew Holiday, and Tatum's not going to play for a year. Do I want to just waste a year of my prime waiting for this, or to look better, or do I want to go somewhere?" I mean, I'm not reporting he's going to
No,
do
no,
that.
of
I'm just
course not.
saying
Yeah, yeah.
that's the type of name though that would certainly interest the Lakers in parting with someone like
What about Trey
Austin
Young?
Reeves. Trey Young, they talked about him to Atlanta 2 years in a row, and they did not include Austin Reeves when
Yeah,
those discussions. And Rawson's only gotten better since then, so I
I
don't
would
think
agree.
that's going to
I think
happen.
Trey Young's stock is way down. I had someone tell me that the San Antonio Spurs initially were interested in Trey Young, and Wembenyama's people were like, we don't want anything to do with it. I guess the work ethic, the lack of defense, the word is out on Trey Young. Like he had a great early career, but he's kind of plateaued. And they went De'Aaron Fox instead. I can't find another guy that I would even consider really moving. Let me just go. This is a little crazy. Um, LaMelo Ball, what does he do for you as a player?
Hmm. The talent is unreal. He hasn't played in one, he hasn't stayed healthy, and two, he hasn't played in like a month of basketball that's mattered yet in his career, let alone barely a week, right?
Yeah.
Like because they've been so far down in the standings whenever he's on the court. So I mean, I can't imagine with this iteration with LeBron James it being a fit. Not no. His
Okay.
brother, if his brother, like LeBron liked playing with Lonzo. Lonzo
Yeah.
just got hurt
Couldn't stay
midway through
healthy.
that season. Yeah. But I don't think LaMelo is a guy for this group.
Do you, what's your, and this is a tough one. Do you think the Lakers are more likely to go to Luca or to LeBron and ask about, say, I don't know, hey, the Sixers are looking to unload Paul George, any interest? Or do they go to both of them, Luka and
So
LeBron, and ask?
I mean, I reported around the time of the trade deadline that Rob Pelinka had a meeting with Luka Doncic shortly after they acquired him. And in that meeting, Rob presented a list of names they could potentially pursue with the trade deadline approaching of 3 or 4 days after that meeting. And Luka identified Mark Williams as someone he would like to play with. And Rob went out and put together a deal to show that he had urgency to make Luka feel like this is the place for him to be long term. And LeBron's camp, and I've already reported this on ESPN, LeBron's camp kind of raised an eyebrow of like, hey, like, what about like LeBron's wanted some
Input.
improvements on this roster, and it seemed to ruffle some feathers when
Okay.
LeBron wanted improvements on this roster.
So,
So,
yeah.
so I think that in that vacuum, it felt like there was a shift in the team's priorities to
Mm-hmm.
put the pecking order of Luca first and LeBron second. However, I think that would be pretty silly. One, considering LeBron is Luca's idol, he's been clear about that. And so if he sees and perceives that the franchise is in any way not treating LeBron James the right way after he's won them a championship and decided to come to that team after they'd missed the playoffs for 7 straight years and got them back on the map in terms of being the most relevant NBA franchise day in, day out. Um, would that affect Luca's decision making come August 2nd when there's going to be a contract extension on his plate? And
Mm.
so if I'm the Lakers, I am very much making sure that I am getting input from both those players and keeping those players lockstep as a partnership, because that's the only way we make this chapter
Yeah.
look as good as it can be.
Totally agree. But I will say this, and Dave, again, this is speculative, and you're watching the game and a million things. But as that series started to go sideways at the end against Minnesota, I don't want to be body language expert guy, but it didn't look like LeBron and Luca were on the same page. Now, I don't know if there was film review and Luca was getting lit up and LeBron was unhappy because LeBron, we know, he was giving us all chase down blocks and everything. I'm not saying that there's like a break or anything between these two, or they're not on the same page, but it just didn't appear as unified as it felt during the regular season. Did you feel or see any of that stuff?
I didn't.
Okay.
I can't speak to the body language stuff. I certainly can speak to the health stuff. Like LeBron wasn't right. Uh, he had come back from the groin injury
Yeah.
that cost him whatever it was, 2.5 weeks or something like that. Then he re-aggravated it against Houston. Again, he didn't look physically right. Luca wasn't physically right. Like Luca was a shell of himself in well, in essence, looking back, it was like a must-win game three, and he can't keep food down for 24 hours. So,
Yeah.
and then game four, it was like so game three, LeBron takes over the offense because Luka has no energy. Game four, LeBron gives all of his effort to defense. And ultimately there's a foul that should have been called. The league admitted it.
Yeah, that's
Luka was
right.
tripped, doesn't go to the foul line. If he goes to the foul line, he probably makes free throws. We're talking about a 2-2 series, and maybe the Lakers, it's a totally different narrative. At the same time, LeBron throws a bad inbounds pass too.
Yeah.
And it just it didn't sync up. Um, I do not believe the reason they lost the series was LeBron and Luca not being on the same page, though. I think the reason they lost the series is they had an incomplete roster, and the roster that they did have probably only had in the neighborhood of a half dozen practices in the time they were together.
Wow. Yeah, that's not ideal. A couple more. Um, I think Miles Turner is the perfect fit for this Lakers team. Obviously, he's having a banger of a postseason. He's going to be in high demand. Any chance that LeBron and Luca put the full court press on, say, bro, take a little less. We can make up for it in marketing. Could they land Miles Turner in free agency?
See, I don't see him as a perfect fit. I don't see him really
Oh,
as a lob threat.
no.
He's
Yeah, he's
he's
more of a rim
his
protector
floor
stretcher. Yeah.
spacing, yeah, and certainly defensively, he can take up space. He makes a lot of money. I think you can get a proximate version of him. So I just disagree there. So I don't think
Interesting.
so. And the Lakers went down that road a couple years ago,
They
and
did.
they could have gotten Miles Turner and Buddy Hield in a deal right before the start of training camp of 22, 23. They would have, would have involved moving Russell Westbrook. They ultimately decided that that's not the best deal we can get, and they waited, and then obviously that patience was good because not only did that restructured team make the Western Conference Finals, but they got D'Angelo Russell. They turned into Dorian Finney-Smith, and I think Dorian Finney-Smith will be a major contributor on this year's Lakers team.
Oh, interesting.
He did not come in healthy, and it took him some time to get some rhythm. But with him having the comfort factor and the health factor on his side, like I mean, I think he'll be right there with you know being considered the third best player, right along with Austin Reeves.
Oh, that's spicy. Yeah, I like DFS. All right, last one. So everybody's speculating the same names: Clint Capella, Nick Claxton, blah blah blah. What do you make of Okongwu? I like him a lot. He's an LA kid. Went to high school with the Ball brothers. Have you heard any buzz on Okongwu as a potential target?
They have before the Mark Williams trade, and I can't tell you all the names on that list, but I actually assume he was one of the names on that list that Rob Pelinka presented to Luca because I do know that the Lakers made a call to the Hawks around the trade deadline about Okongwu. So uh, I think lob threat, athleticism,
Yep.
absolutely. In terms of being a perfect fit, maybe not. They might not get a perfect fit though. I think
That's yeah.
Clint Capella of 17, 18 probably was a perfect fit, but we're 25, 26 now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's kind of the spot they're going to be in. I am of the opinion to not go all in on someone like a Claxton, et cetera, making 20 to 30 million.
Oh, come on. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, but he's already under contract. But so they're going to have the taxpayers mid-level available to them. And I'd go out, try to get a guy at that level. And if he doesn't prove to be the best fit, um, make sure you're holding on to one of your picks. And then you can try to pursue
Mm.
something come February. Because that position, you need to have it. But I don't know if that position you absolutely need to have it start of training camp. You could get a player to fit that role if he's the right guy in
Mm.
February and be ready and raring to go come April.
All right, Dave McMenamin, ESPN NBA reporter. Dave, the when I start text chains for my men's league teams, I always introduce guys as here's my NBA comp for this guy. Need your NBA comp for your hoop pickup hoops game.
I played pretty well today. I mean, not
Ooh,
great, but I played pretty well today. So I will feel confident in saying this. I am a shorter Steve Novak. Catch and shoot all day.
Steve Novak, come
Yeah,
on, bro. You got to
baseline to
respect your own game
baseline,
more than that.
baseline to baseline, wing to wing, catch and shoot, catch and shoot. I don't break out the belt, but I feel that way. I feel that confidence when I get it going. No, I mean
Steve
that's
Novak. Couldn't you
Steve
upgrade
Novak.
to a Ryan Anderson?
No, I think Steve was better at catch and shoot.
Oh, by the way, Ryan Anderson lives here in the South Bay, and
Yeah, Richard Jefferson's neighborhood, right? I
indeed. By the
believe.
way, you
Yeah.
know that Richard Jefferson was on our men's league team, right? I think I might
Yes,
have
I
told
did
you
know
that. Yeah,
that.
and we
Yes, I
lost
did
in the
know that.
championship.
Yeah.
When you see him, ask, "Hey, what happened with the JMac men's league?" It was one of the biggest upsets ever. We led the whole way and then collapsed at the end. They had two 25-year-olds who were really good,
Wait, did he
but
show up to the
yeah,
championship and
he
he's
showed
still
up to the
on?
championship. Yeah,
Wow. This is
I
a
mean, he
team with
played a couple games
This is a
and
team
then
with
he
Leinart too.
no, it's different.
Okay.
Leinert's on the
Okay.
current
Different.
team, 35
Okay.
and up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Got it.
Leinert's got that deep stroke, man. He
Yeah.
is.
I've seen some clips. Yeah. We're gonna play. We'll put it on our priority list. We'll make it happen.
I'll get you on the list. All right,
Yeah.
buddy. Good
All right.
talking.
Good to
All
see
right,
you, man.
thanks, Dave. See you.